Good evening, everyone. My name is Juanita. I'm the co-chair of the Economic Empowerment Committee, and we'd like to thank you for joining us for our SisterNomics and Salon Convo Student Loan Debt Seminar. Thank you so much for taking the time out to join us this evening. We also like to thank you for completing our poll as you first entered our webinar. It is truly appreciated, and it allows us the opportunity to get to know you all much better. Before we begin, I'd like to go over a few of tonight's agenda, along with a few housekeeping tips. So here's a quick breakdown where we will do our very best to remain on schedule, as we appreciate and want to be respectful of everyone's time tonight. So from 6:30, we'll begin our opening of the program and our overview. 6:35, we'll welcome and we'll have our welcome and information about our NCBW. 6:40, we'll begin our fireside chat with our student loan expert, Angela Howes. 7:20, we'll have our testimonials. 7:30, we'll begin our video from Representative Madeline Dean from Pennsylvania's 4th Congressional District. From 7:35, we'll begin our Q&A. 7:50, we'll go into our closing. Few housekeeping tips. If you have any questions, please leverage the Q&A function. And we ask that you stay engaged during the presentation by adding your commentary via the chat function. And at the conclusion, please complete the survey for a chance to win raffle prizes. And as always, we'd like for you to take action. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our Madam President, as she will give you more information and details about the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Pennsylvania chapter. Madam President, I give you the floor.
Good evening, good evening. Thank you, Sister Juanita. As Sister Juanita stated, my name is Latifah Fields, and I am the president for the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated Pennsylvania chapter. The mission of the NC100BW is to advocate unapologetically, as we in Pennsylvania like to say, on behalf of Black women and girls to promote leadership development and gender equity in the areas of health, education, and economic empowerment. Across the U.S., we are comprised of over 3,500 members and over 60 chapters in 27 states, including the District of Columbia. The Pennsylvania chapter is one of the largest chapters with over 160 members, where our work primarily focuses in the Philadelphia region. Through our national and local partnerships, we are proud to be a voice for our communities. We invite you to learn more about the Pennsylvania chapter at www.nc100bw-pa.org. I want to thank you for joining this evening's program. For those of you that are tuning in at a later time, please make sure you share what you've learned tonight. Those that are here tonight, take your notes, but make sure you share starting tomorrow with those what you learned tonight and leaving with that additional information on securing the bag and becoming debt-free. A special thanks to our Economic Empowerment Committee and our guest panelists serving as our subject matter experts tonight. We want to thank all of you again for being here, and please don't let this be the only program that you attend this year for the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated Pennsylvania chapter. Enjoy the salon you find yourself in today. We know that we definitely don't just go in the salon to gossip. We go to learn. So make sure you take your notes and you share what you've learned this evening. I'll pass it back on over to our Economic Empowerment Committee. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam President, for the introduction. Now let's get into what we're all here tonight for. The student debt crisis is a racial and economic justice issue we must finally begin to address, and we must finally begin to address it as such, said Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. Tuition is outpacing students' ability to pay, and the share of students taking out loans to finance their degrees rose from roughly half to over 2/3 from 1993 to 2012, according to the Pew Research Center. Between 1993 and 2020, the average loan amount grew from nearly threefold, surpassing $30,000. Tonight, we have a student loan expert, Angela House, to educate us on the importance of proper higher education planning and alternative avenues to consider when we think about financing college tuition. But before we bring Angela to the salon, here's a brief introduction about her, and she will give us a little bit more about herself later. Angela holds a master's degree in economic workforce development from the University of Southern Mississippi and certifications as a certified student loan professional and certified financial literacy instructor. Excellence in Action from Mississippi Alliance of Nonprofits and Philanthropy certified in nonprofit governance, accountability, nonprofit finance, fundraising, evaluation, nonprofit HR, volunteer management, and strategic alliances. In addition, if all of that wasn't enough, she's the student loan expert for consumers affairs and a financial literacy instructor with the Financial Literacy Institute as well. The Mississippi Business Journal named her one of its top 50 CEOs in 2020. And she has received a financial literacy proclamation from Hattiesburg, Mississippi's Mayor Toby Barker in 2019. Angela believes in finding solutions for students before, during, and after college by scheduling a discovery call at www.angelahouse.com. You can find her on several platforms, including Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and quote, financialaidstrategist.com. Now, let's get to it. I present to you Miss Angela House. Take yourself off of mute. We don't want to miss these gems.
There you go. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I truly appreciate it. I'm so excited to be here. and I hope the guests are too. This
So,
chapter,
well,
thank you.
yeah, so would we just want to welcome you here this evening. And so I just want to give you an opportunity. I know I read down, all the credentials, but just take a little moment to tell the audience just a little bit more about yourself.
Well, let's see. I'm the mother of 10, 8 living. So I know what it feels like for your children to attend college without the finances, with the backing. So I'm going to share with you some information on that. But I found ways for a few of my children to attend college debt free. And then I also found a way for them to cut their budgets in half. And then before they even start college, even with my grandkids, they will not have any student loan debt. I really enjoy being called the Harriet Tubman of student loans because I take pride in helping as many people as possible, especially when they cannot find a solution to their student loan debt. One of the things that I hear most of the time, where is the end to this repayment, is what they really want to know. So my focus would be on, let's get to the end of the situation.
Well, I am just ready for this conversation. Just being a mother who is a recent graduate and putting her child through college. So let's dive in, and hopefully you can lead us all to freedom. So let's get into this college conversation. So let's talk a little bit about the pre-college planning. When do you think we should parents should really start thinking about financial planning for college? When should those conversations really begin? And when should we start really evaluating our finances?
Well, from the birth of the child, as to be honest with you. So when you have the child, you really should be looking at your finances. Say, okay, we know that we want our child to go to college, so let's look at it at that point. But another time to start, usually when the child is like in the 4th grade, you want to ask the child, you'll start seeing their gifts, and you'll start seeing if they like sports, if they like soccer, or do they have gifts in English, or whatever the science project that they really want to get into. So you really want to start there because you want to use your craft so they can get scholarships and such. But to get back to the main focus is start as soon as possible. I would say at least at 2 years old. I would. At the age of 2. And that's if you have to do a custodial account is what I like for my, the people that we're doing now, they start a custodial account. And that way, instead of buying all these gifts, when the kids get through playing with them, they're going to throw them away. So take that $25, that $35 and put it into a savings account. In the custodial account, they can invest it into mutual funds, like for the parents managing the account. So there's all kinds of ways that you can save money without it being wasted.
Interesting. So at birth, we should be really planning on how we're going to move forward. The burden of financial support often falls on a Black woman. I can contest to that. Having to care for both the previous generation and the future. What kind of tips can you give on relieving the stress for getting ahead of college funding? It's really easy to say, start planning for your child at birth, but we all know life gets in the way. And so what will, like you said, and you touched upon it earlier, instead of buying some of the toys at Christmas or birthdays, but what other tips can you really give to the audience today in regards to that?
What I found out was sharing Man's Law Harker, and these was really great. When you show a child love and you show the child support, and you are really concerned with their well-being, you will see results. Now, one of the things that we did, we sent our children you got different programs. So you got a program that you can get from, I don't know why it's leaving me for all of a sudden, like I lost my train of thought. So excuse me, there are different programs that you can participate in. One of them is AmeriCorps. AmeriCorps will pay you $6,085 for a 10-month program. And that program teaches financial literacy. It teaches them personal development. It also gives them a stipend. So they'll get like a $450 paycheck every 2 weeks. Plus they're going to get this $6,085 after the 10-month service. So that was really great. Now you can do this 2 times. So like every 10 months, you can go back into the program. So that's a lot of money. You wind up with like $20,000, $20,450 out of 2-year service. This is before college. That
Now,
the child can do.
So is that for both the parent or the child, or just the child?
This is just for the child. For the child can do, but it also would help the parent, because the parent is
Okay.
trying to find ways without taking extra funds out. Because I'm pretty sure him or her, or they're probably paying all the bills, getting the bills and stuff together. And it's kind of hard. You got to pay daycare and trying to save. There's really no room to put money away into a savings account. So if the child is anywhere from 16 to 17 years of age, that's another avenue that you can attend to before the child go to school. That's one way. The other expenses, like I said, need life insurance. You can get life insurance, a whole policy, life insurance. So when the child turned 18 to 21, you can cash the life insurance out and give that to the child. That's another avenue to look at. You can also, like I stated before, with the other program, you can do the 529 plans. You can do the 529 and get those acclimated. So either 529, you can do the custodial account, you can do the AmeriCorps. Those are different formats that you can use to save money.
So, child is in college, so they're matriculating. And so let's talk a little bit about what we can do as we prepare for funding while the child is actually in college. Many students receive a refund with their student loan overage for the semester. Everybody lives for that refund check. I can remember in college. Can you please provide any considerations prior to accepting the refund check? So what should our students be thinking about, before they get that refund check? Instead of going to the mall, what should other things should be thinking about?
So when we hear the word refund, we're thinking taxes. Oh, I'm gonna get my taxes refund, because that's something they were hearing in the home, right? And so it's okay, wait till I get my tax return, I'm gonna buy you X, Y, and Z. So when they attend college and they get this refund, they think, oh, I got extra funds, I'm getting ready to go spend this money. No, don't do it. It's more debt. It's not refund, it's more debt. And not only is it more debt, the same debt is still going to be accrued over the years. It can be 10 years, it can be the 25 years of repayment. We don't know how much debt you may be taking out. So do not take out, don't accept the refund, send it back. Tell them you don't want it. If you can, send it back. And then that way you won't have this extra amount of debt. That's what you don't want. And on top of the receiving the debt, they will the institution will put it on this debit card now, this Visa card. Every time you use the Visa card, they take out a transaction fee. So not only are you paying this, you getting this refund check, and they're going to put it on your card, and this will be $2.75 every time you make a transaction. It's $2.75. So not only are you already paying it back, but you're still getting out more fees taken out. Even those little $2.75 can add up. So if you're going to take out this refund, take all the money off the card at one time and deposit into your checking account, so you don't have to be paying another transaction fee every time you swipe your card that they give you.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's must have changed since my daughter. But wow, that's you really don't see all those fees, and our kids will, like you said, use that as a debit card and just going at it. So President Biden, he's been an advocate for really kind of really shining a light on it. So so I think he could be doing more, but at this point, he's extended the pandemic relief for 41 million student loan borrowers until May, and repayment will resume in June. So I'm one of those 41 million, and so what should we really be thinking about, and how should we be preparing for this repayment to kick in? Because I know this is going to be a shock for a lot of us, including myself, adding in that payment back into our life. So, what are some things that we can really prepare ourselves as we really embark on this due date?
So one of the things you want to make sure that, I know a lot of people had their loans on automation. So for the first couple of months, I would take my loans off automation if it's on automation, because you don't know, they could be like $800 come due if you have not recertified in the 30-day window. Because once you don't recertify, then your loan rate is not your loan rate, but your payment is going to go up until you put your income to repayment plan in. And you may not be looking for this note to come out because you forgot you had it on automation. So that's the first thing. The second thing you want to look at is which repayment program that you're in. Which one where you're in the income-based repayment, which is 15% of your discretionary income, revised pay as you earn, is 10% of your discretionary income, and the income contingent is 20% of your discretionary income. So look and see, have your situation changed? Do you have the same job? Is your job qualifiable for the public service loan forgiveness program? Did your housing situation change? If you're saying yes to any of these things, then you need to make certain that you fill out your income during repayment form and do an alternative documentation, letting them know, hey, 3 more people reside with me since COVID. So this will lower your repayment, but make sure that, I want to make sure that everybody know that it's against the law for you to put down several people live with your house, and it's not, and they find out, you can go to prison. So, just so we know. But you never know who done moved in with whom, and who may need some more expenses, and you have to pay for it if you are providing 50% of their living expenses. So that's
And
another thing.
So even between tax cycles, if someone has moved in with you, you're able to add that additional.
Oh, yes,
okay.
Absolutely. Yes, you contact them, say, hey, I have some more people live with me. We need to recalculate my student loan repayment, and they will do so.
Okay.
Now, what we don't want to do is skip from one repayment to the next repayment to the next repayment, because you're starting over again, and then that accruing interest will be compounded over to not compounded, be transferred over to your principal, and then you'll be paying more money back on your student loan.
So say that over again, so people.
So say you're in the revised pay as you earn repayment program, and you've been in there for 10 years, and you decide you want to go over to the pay as you earn. Well, that interest that had accrued because you are changing repayment program is going to go over to your principal. So then the calculations is going to start coming from your principal and not from what you had before.
So how do you avoid that?
Well, if you don't have to move to another repayment program, you're fine, right? But long as when you start jumping from one repayment program to the next, that's when it happens. The trigger happens when you go into default. It's the triggers that happens when you compounds, when it goes over. So you want to make sure you don't do the triggers when you get a new repayment program.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but and I mean, that's really interesting, because like each annual year they ask you, do you want to be reevaluated for a different plan? And
I'm gonna need that expression right there. Okay.
So okay. I mean, that's a nugget I'm writing down, because they do present that as each year would you like to be reevaluated for the best plan suitable for your time here, and you're saying all of that kind of grows your principal.
It will grow your principal change. Now you have to look and see, have you, like a state of your situation changed? Did you get married? You may have gotten married. Your husband may have student loan debt, and if not, then you may be eligible for the pay as you earn repayment program, which you don't have to use your husband's income. So it depends. It's like just like taxes, everybody's situation is different. So you want to see what is the best repayment program is for you. But if you had to speak to a student loan advisor from what is it, 8 Advanced now, or Nelnet, whoever the case may be, make sure they explain the entirety packet to you before you make that decision. Don't just let them say, oh, okay, this is best for you, bam. No, to explain it to me, tell me everything I need to know.
Good advice. So what is the difference between, for some of our people tuning in that may not know, what's the difference between refinancing and consolidating student loans?
So when you're refinancing a student loan, that tells me that you may have a private loan. And if you want to refinance that private loan to bring it down, I understand that. The interest rate now, it can be anywhere from 174 up to 8.68%. And then you got to have a credit score of 680 in order to do that. And it can go from anywhere from 5 to 10 years. It was at an all-time low if that was something that you wanted to do. But if you refinances your loan, if you want to refinance your loans away from the federal loans and go to a private loan, you will lose all of your federal protections, like with the pandemic, right? You were able to go on the pandemic hold, or the deferment, or the forbearances, or lost a job forbearance, where you can go in and say, hey, unemployment forbearance, those type of things, disability. So you want to make sure that that's something that you really want to do. Now, if you already have private loans and you want to refinance them because the interest is too high, then maybe it's something you need to think about between you and your financial advisor to see if that's a good fit for you. Consolidation is done when you are applying for different programs, or if you are coming out of default. That's the only time I would, if I had student loans, that's the only time I would consolidate my student loans, or only for that, for that concern. But now, oftentimes, credit repair companies would tell you to consolidate your loans into one repayment. And if you have direct loans and you've been paying them all this time, and you consolidate all those loans, you just wipe clean all those payments you made. So you want to make sure when you consolidate that you understand that when you start the whole ball rolling and you paid off that debt, now you got a brand new set of 10 more years or 20 more years. So be careful when you consolidate. And if you have a student loan default, if there's only one loan that's default, just consolidate that one loan. Don't consolidate all of them. You don't want to do that. And never listen. Don't let nobody tell you to consolidate all your loans. Please don't do that.
Oh, that was really, I was not aware that it starts that clock back over. So
all back over.
Yeah. So I guess if that's not something, I know coming out of college, that's usually like they'll tell you, that's one point where they'll try to get you to consolidate all of your loans. I guess it wouldn't hurt there, but to your point, you moving after you've put years in payments, bringing them together.
Yeah. Now, when you come straight out of college, if that's something you want to do because you haven't made any payments, you got 6 months of grace period, right? So that may be something that you may want to do when you're coming straight out of college. Oftentimes, like we was talking about in midterm, like in mid-college, while you're still in college, if you you tell them you don't want that refund, you can work for 6 months. And if you were to take that loan and pay it back within 6 months, and you still won't have it, but you got to do it within that 6 months grace period. So if you feel like you need a loan, to borrow a loan before you're ready to get out of college, borrow for that 6 month span, but be prepared to pay it back. So if you got $4,000 or $5,000 you want to borrow, pay it back before that next semester get here. If you can't pay it back, don't get it. And that way you can do that as well. And you can walk right out of college with probably $2,000 or $3,000 owing, if that. But yeah, so back to what you were saying, that was it. Don't do it.
Yeah, and mixing. So I guess you're mixing, like if you have private loans versus and some direct public loans, your suggestion would never to mix because you would lose the.
Yeah, well, see, private loans does not qualify for the public service loan forgiveness program. But if you have private loans and you want to consolidate them, then you will look at your interest rate and see what's the best interest rate there is. Now, if you got a smaller interest rate, say you got a 2.2 interest rate and you got an 8.6 interest rate, well, you really don't want to put those two together. You want to keep that smaller rate, right? And so you want to try to do something with that 8.8% if that's your desire. If you already done paid a lot on it, see what the pros and cons are. So if you were to reconsolidate that 8.8 interest rate, look and see how much longer you have to pay it off, and what is the consequences of the loans that you just been paying into and it's all gone. So it's, think hard about it before you start consolidating. Not unless you're gonna get a house, for you doing it for a cause. I know you want to save funds, you want to save money, but make sure you speak with your tax advisor or your personal finance advisor before just signing the forms.
So moving to the after college phase, where I find myself with my daughter. We often hear about the various terms like forgiveness, and I think you touched upon that, cancellation and discharge. Can you explain about the differences between these forgiveness, cancellation, and discharge?
So a cancellation would be something like, when the bars of defense, when you went to a school closed, and then your loan's canceled, don't worry about that. If you are disabled, your loans are discharged. You don't have to worry about that. What is the next one? You had cancellation. Oh, no, closed school. Oh, forgiveness. So then your forgiveness would be your student loan forgiveness. You can do that one. That can be with the public service loan forgiveness. That can be with the teacher loans forgiveness. Very other programs that they have. There's military forgiveness on somewhere. You can jump into that program as well. Then you have the disability, permanent disability, which President Biden had already, he done forgave almost, but $5.8 billion in student loan forgiveness for people with permanent and total disability. That was like 300 student loan borrowers got that relief. So those are the difference in the forgiveness. Now, when you do receive the student loan forgiveness, and if it's a public service loan forgiveness, or if it's a total permanent disability, you will be taxed upon it. So you want to make sure, because it look like it's your income. So you want to make sure you get with your tax provider and see if you qualify for an insolvency form. An insolvency form is 982, and then that way to see if they will forgive that tax allotment that they would try to put, like you had extra income and you didn't. And then most of the time it works, but I'm not a tax provider, so you have to ask them, right? But most of the time it works. Remember, that's form 982, y'all. Mm-hmm.
So, President Biden, and again, you touched on this also, has been doing work to improve upon these programs. Can you talk a little bit about the existing forgiveness programs and what some recent changes have been?
Well, he's doing I like the fact that he's doing this 1-year public service loan forgiveness waiver for people who may have been told, their loans weren't supposed to have been forgiven, and they were back in 2017 when the whole Navient thing allegedly went south. And so now here's President Biden. He's getting everybody a 1-year window to submit your forms to see if you qualify, if you've been working in a nonprofit or an employer where your loans can be forgiven. And he's looking at your loan, and they are wiping them out, you guys. It really is happening. It really is. I want to say it's 11.5 billion has been forgiven thus far that I know of. And then, so I would say, put your form in. You never know what's going to happen. Yeah, the public service loan waiver. The first form, when you do that waiver, make sure you check the first box. The first box is you want to know how many qualifying payments do I have. At least you would get an end date to the madness, right? You'll know. They may tell you got 40, 60, 80. Then I have some clients who have all of their loans forgiven. Don't owe anything. Just wiped it straight out. So.
And was that a time period? I'm taking this as because I know when I came out of college, I went into public service. I worked for the city of Philadelphia, and I inquired about. I almost did almost 10 years there, and I was inquiring about that. Is there a time period for that?
It's a 10-year repayment program, but see, for this waiver, the public service loan forgiveness waiver, that's why I was telling you to go ahead and submit your form, so then they can go ahead and recalculate. Now, for the regular public service loan forgiveness program, you got to have direct loans, right? And so you cannot have the federal family educational loans, which is the FFEL loans. They don't qualify. So those loans would have to be consolidated to a direct loan in order for them to participate in the public service loan forgiveness program. Okay. Even the Perkins loans, the little Perkins loan we get from the school. Okay, so those loans, they don't qualify either. So either you can pay them up, usually about $2,500, something to that effect. No more than $4,000, they didn't give you that much, about $5,000 at the most. But that loan would have to be consolidated as well if it was to be a part of the public service loan forgiveness program or the teacher loan forgiveness program.
Understood. Now, what are some other resources that you recommend our audience as they, leverage through this process? What are some other things out there?
Know your numbers. I cannot stress enough to know your numbers, know your repayment program that you are in. And so when you get ready, let me show you what a discretionary income is. A discretionary income is your what you made for your salary for the year. And whatever state you are in, they will deduct the poverty guideline. And then if you look at your poverty guideline, they will multiply it by 150%. And then when they get through, that's what they're using to calculate how much money that they can utilize to say, this is how you're going to make this repayment back. But one of the things I want to make sure that you do, make sure you use your taxable wages. So when I say that, so get your paycheck stub, and if you're paying your dental, your medical, your HSAs, whatever you're putting in or taking out of your paycheck stub, do what we call alternative documentation, and where you submit your last two paycheck stubs and turn it in. And this way, this will lower your repayments, okay? So that's one of the things that you want to look at. And if you don't want to send them in that way, when you go back to studentaid.gov and you log on, you can put the information into the system yourself, and it automatically calculate it to some degree, but it'd be close. It can be off a little bit, $10 to $15, what have you. So that's one of the things that you want to make sure that you do. Again, I cannot stress enough, if you are on automation, you may want to take it off for the first month or two, then get back on it if you can, because you will save 0.25% off the interest rate. You can finally get that Coca-Cola you always wanted. But that's something that you can do on that as well. Stay abreast. And know that for those of you who are in default, or you owe back taxes, wages for the student loans, they will not take from you guys until November 1st of 2022. So for those of you who, like your refund check or something like that, they won't start taking from you all until November 1st, 2022. But for the regular people, your repayment is going to start back on May the 1st.
So I know back when I was attending college, student loans, you were able, you needed your parents' income, but the student took out the loan in their name. I know when my daughter went, it was a different process, and I actually had to take out the bulk of it just based on my income. So some of the loans that I have under me are written under her name, well, they're written on behalf of her. Would they qualify for any forgiveness based on her?
Well, the Parent Plus loan, they're not allowed in this segment. Even if you were to consolidate, they're saying no, not on the Parent Plus. It's just, they said that they're not qualifying under them. But any other loan, like if you had a plus loan for like a regular plus, it'd be different. But a Parent Plus loan, they're not doing, not under the public service loan forgiveness waiver. So that one would be a bummer.
Okay. Oh, right.
So but that still doesn't mean everything is out. There are still ways. Once we go back and do the recalculations and make sure you take and use your taxable wages, you can still get it out and just look at the repayment program. And then if you have not consolidated your loans, we can just see you may have a loan for $1,500. We can just focus on that one, knock that one out and go all the way up, right? So all is not lost. We can still get into the program, because even if you're not in the public service loan forgiveness program and you're not looking to get into the public service loan forgiveness program, then you may have anywhere from a 10 to 20 to 25 year repayment. And if you paid your loans for 20 years, then they'll forgive the rest, but you still be taxable with it.
You'll still be taxable for the amount they forgave.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why you want to save a little bit, put a little bit to the side, so you'll be prepared to pay the taxes if you have to pay the taxes. And then also remember, file for insolvency if you fit that criteria, based upon how much money you make, right? So if you fit that criteria, then you're able to use that for.
So I know, and again, you talked about this earlier, the different avenues for payment and the different programs they have in regards to, pay to earn. Is it one? I know it's really based on your income, but and really where you are in life. But is it one that you recommend more than the other?
Well, one of the things that I would hate to say, like, give it okay, let me just say it this way. The revised pay as you earn and pay as you earn is 10% discretionary income. Some of your income-based repayment is 10%, depending on what year you got it. And everything is depicted upon what year the loan came out. So some years may be 2014, some 2010. So you got to see what year that loan came out that you borrowed the loan. And then you may have one loan here, but you can't have one after this one. So it's a lot of red tape that goes with it. But one of the things that I always tell the students to log on to studentaid.gov and then just go to manage my loans and then tell them that you want to pay off your loan as soon as possible. And it's going to pull up and it's going to tell you the things that you need to do. And you'll see the different programs to come up. Now, again, let's go back over it. So if you have if you're an income driven repayment plan, you have the revised pay as you earn and the pay as you earn. That's 10% of the discretionary income. If you have income-based repayment, that's 15% discretionary income. And if you have the plus loan, it's automatically 20% of the discretionary income. Now, what the chatter that we might be hearing, that maybe the income driven repayment program may change. Maybe the discretionary income would be 250% and not the 150%. That would be good. We do know that it is said that for people who make $25,000 or less, and their interest won't be accruing if they make that much money, and so they can start paying their loans down. So it's a lot of things that's been spoke on. Let's see if we get into law, and then that way we'll know exactly where we are. So we're still waiting to hear.
So you've been saying discretionary income, discretionary income, discretionary, that you've been saying that word a lot. Can you just go in and kind of tell people what that is and how the government looks at that?
Yeah, so the discretionary income is based off of where you reside, your poverty guideline, where you reside. It's based off your, whatever you make your salary. So if you make $50,000, you may have 1 or 2 kids, I don't know, but they look at the poverty guideline. So the poverty guideline may be $1,200. So you multiply that by 150%. If it comes up to $18,000 and you subtract that from $50,000, so now you bring your payment down. And if you got 2 more kids and then for them it's $4,000 for each additional kid, then you multiply that by 150 and you take that and you subtract that down. So now you're probably left with $18,000. So you got $18,000 and there's 12 months in a year, right? So you're going to divide that by 12. And then when you get that amount divided by 12, you're going to multiply it. And then that's what you're going to get your regular payment. So you want to make sure that once you do your calculations, that's the amount that you're supposed to pay. So we can go over it again. I'm gonna go slower. You take your salary, you owe $50,000. I'm just gonna say one person. You take 18, let's say for instance, your poverty guideline is $18,075. Subtract that from that, $18,075. Once you get to $18,075, you're gonna divide it by 12. When you divide it by 12, and then you're gonna see that will be your payment for that month. Okay. Now you're going to multiply it when you divide it by 12, multiply it by your payment program. Is it 10%? Is it 15%? Is it 20%? Then you divide it by 12. So once you get that amount, then it tells you what you owe. I should have had my calculator here.
So basically, once you get what your discretionary fund is after taking all of that out, based on the payment plan, whether it's based on a 10, 20, whatever, that would be what is divided. What your actual payment would be.
Exactly. So once you do that, you're going to multiply it by whatever so that'll be 3,221.25. Then you divide it by 12, and that's what your payment's going to be. So once you deduct your discretionary income, then you multiply it by which payment program you're in. If it's revised pay as you earn or pay as you earn, that's 10%. And then you multiply it by 12, and then that's what you have. And that's your payment and what it's going to be.
So June is vastly, and as we begin to close, June and May and June is vastly approaching very quickly. drop dead date when people should be getting online. I know we should be on there now,
Now.
but drop down date on when people should be getting online and making sure that they're paying attention. Because I think you said changing a program or being certified takes 30 days. Is that what you said earlier?
It's 30 to 90 days that they're telling people now. It's always been 60 to 90 days. We've said it on.
Okay.
And so sometimes beforehand, it would get back a little earlier, but you still should receive something in the mail or in your inbox saying that they received your form, right? Within 30 days, you ought to have something. They should say, hey, we received your form and we're processing it. It usually take anywhere from 90 days to 120 days to tell you that they can have it done. But usually it's quicker than that. But remember, we got new people that is servicing the student loans now. So you got Aid Advance is going to be doing those as a part of Maximus. So you got new people on the phone, and that's why if you feel that the answer that you're getting is not quite what you want to hear, or if it's something that you're not understanding, politely ask for a supervisor to see if you can speak to somebody else. Because every time you call, the call is recorded. And then, you just want to make sure that, we are polite when we call back. And then that way you can just speak to that department. If it's dealing with consolidation, ask for the consolidation department. If it's dealing with public service, don't forget. And that way you don't have to worry about getting transferred everywhere. Just ask for that department when you call in. And that way, you'll be okay. But they are really making good strides to do better. So, I'm happy about that.
So, basically, you're telling us we should be on the phones now, or we should be looking at it now. Do we need to recertify? Do we need to recertify before May?
Yeah. So what I would do, a lot of people are starting to recertify before May, but you have until May the 1st. We don't know if it'll be extended again. So if they telling us if it look like it's not going to be extended, and you want to go ahead and get it done by then, if you at least it's be in the system, right? So they know it's in the system. So you'll get that part done. I don't know if he will extend it again. I really can't speak on their behalf. I know he's really did a lot on trying to extend it to the fullest, but he's going by, the agreement that what President Trump had put out. And so it's only extended so far. He only extended so far, but he's the president.
And we praying. I know I'm praying.
He's doing good.
I really can say, and then maybe it's just because I'm at this point in my life as an adult that I really see some efforts and strides really to kind of really address some of the concerns. But I truly want to thank you so much, Angela, for all of the information and the resources that you have provided tonight. And I know people are listening, and what you truly gave some nuggets and gems. I was taking my notes. I don't know about anybody else on this slide, but I hope that they were taking their notes and getting this information, and so that we are empowered, because just by some of the things you said tonight, I can truly say that I was misinformed or didn't know about some of the things that you gave me for as information tonight. So again, I just want to thank you for what you did tonight, and just for the work that you're doing, in helping people get a education and not be strapped down with it. And that was one of the things that I wanted my daughter. I took the burden on whatever needed to do, because I didn't want her to come out and not be able to, live her life in that point. So just thank you so very much. Thank you so very much.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Remarks?
Yeah, I do want to say, listen, don't let the student loans get you down. You can still purchase a home with student loans.
Yes, listen.
You can still get a house with student loan. And as long as your student loans stay out of default, it's good credit. Okay. I know that we did not want to take the student loan debt out because we didn't know that, when we signed the promissory note back in the day, We didn't know, but now that we know better, let's make sure that we do not continue this cycle of student loan debt. Let's not repeat that. So if our children don't understand or don't know what they want to go into college, then don't send them there. Why don't let's do a trade, or let's do dual enrollment while they're in high school. Let's make sure that we're teaching our children financial literacy at home, because everything starts at home. And if there's something that your child may need some more help in English or math, I sent my own children to the Sylvan Learning Institute. Whatever the case was that they needed, I was there. And I gave them support. I mean, they went to school on scholarships for academic. They went on as mascots. They played in the band. They the RA. They did graduate assistants. I mean, everything that we know. I knew that I can get them in there. I said, we're going to do this. We did some. They did the Job Corps. We did the grant. I mean, anything we could to get the free money in, and then go and get the degrees. That's what we did. And another thing, may I say in closing, one of the things when I was speaking of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, oftentimes we have a lot of, African-American families, they would say, when you're 18, it's time to go, get out. Don't do that. If you can, make it your family or your children's families in a place whereby they will save a lot of money if they would attend a junior college first or university and stay at home. They'll save on cafeteria fees, dorm fees, the gym fees. I mean, all these extra fees that they will add, and that's a lot of money that you can save there as well, if it's possible. And I understand the kids get grown and they want to go, they want to live this college life. That's fine. I have one son that did it, and he wished he had stayed home now. But you have to let them go. I get it. But at the same time, make sure that, and I know this may sound a little weird or whatnot, but I used to pop up at the university when my kids when they was 19 years old. I just walked through the class and came on out. They never knew when I was coming. At the time, you was able to do that. They didn't somebody say anything. I just walked through, just make sure you were there. I didn't know. But guess what? All of my kids have graduated, praise God. So we have 2 petroleum engineers, we got 2 nurses, we got 2 teachers, we got a school counselor, we got an epidemiologist. And my other daughter, she is getting ready to finish up hers in registered dietitian. So it's putting in the work before you go to college will save you so much money. I promise. It will save you so much money. Put the work in before you go to college. Even like one of my clients, what she did was her son wanted to be a CRNA. So we did it with, we started off as a CNA, then he went and got his LPN. So now he's in RN school, but he's paying for college because he work on the weekend and go to school during the day. No student loan debt. So it's all different avenues and different ways that we can do it. But let's start with financial literacy. Let's start with support, love, putting in the work. Remember, let's go ahead and get some insurance. You can do that, the whole policy. Let's get that done, and then get life policy just in case, you may need that. And let's get those avenues in place, custodial accounts for the kids as they're coming up. Let's get this going, and let's break that cycle of bondage. Let's break the chains. No more chains. With that. Because it's too much. It's enough. And Black women, if we don't break it here with our family, it won't get broken. It's a system. It's a system. It's a legalized institutional system. It's a debt cycle. So therefore, we have to do it on our end. And may I recommend one book? I would recommend, oh gosh, I would recommend a book. Oh my gosh. Oh, I can't, it slipped my tongue, but I'll get it back.
Well, you can always send it back and we can.
I'll send it back. I'll think about it in a minute. I'll think about it in a minute. It's a book, it's an ACT prep book. It's really, really good. And I think that you will really enjoy it, and it will help get those ACT scores up or SAT scores up so you can get some scholarships.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen who's already on the line, if you take nothing else, let's remember to break this cycle, Again, thank you so very much. And with that, I will now turn it over to Sister Alana.
Can you guys see me? I'm sorry. Can you all see me?
We can, yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. Well, Thank you for handing that over. We have heard a lot of good information tonight, and I hope you all have taken a lot of notes as well. I want to discuss the importance of your personal testimony. We elect individuals to public office who will be responsive to our needs. We want to elect individuals to public office who are responsive to our needs. An important way for you and your community to have your voices heard is to provide testimonials in reference to any issue that is of concern to you.
That book, Holy Spirit.
Submitting testimony is a path to engaging lawmakers who want input from the public to guide their decision-making process. With that said, tonight, we have the privilege to hear from the audience about their experiences on how to pay for their college education. We will begin with Amber Wiggins, a freshman at Johnson C. Smith University, who is the daughter of Sister Shamisha Burton. And then we'll hear from Sister Jennifer Powell Folks, mother of Clarissa, a student at the Community College of Philadelphia. And we'll send it over to Amber.
Hi everyone. For some reason my video cannot start. It's disabled.
That's okay, Amber, we can hear you.
Okay. Good evening, ladies. I would like to start off by saying thank you to the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, the PA chapter, for allowing me to share my experience on this evening, and shout out and thank you to my mother, the Reverend Shamisha Burton, who is also the member of the chapter, for always encouraging me to step up when necessary. Again, my name is Amber Wiggins, and I am a graduate from Marian Mercy Academy, class of 2021, where I was an honor student, president of the Black Student Union, co-founder of the Gospel Choir, and was inducted in the National Music Society, National Math Society, and the National Honor Society, along with tons of community service hours and 11 years of classical ballet training and 6 years of technical dance training. I'm a current freshman at the one and only Johnson C. Smith University in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I am a James B. Duke Scholar, which entails my scholarship title. I currently have a 4.0 GPA, and I am a part of the Blue Satin Majorette Dance Team who performs for the International Institution of Sound Marching Band. I am a member of CPA, which stands for Career Pathways Academy. And this program, it provides many opportunities of internship, mentorships, and study abroad opportunities. And this fall semester, I was able to have a mentorship with a retail state company that provided so much information about the professional, development and how you can, grow in professionalism and knowing how to conduct yourself properly. And thanks to Career Pathways, I was also given a paid internship. Thank you, God. And I'm also a presidential member of the National Society of Leadership and Success at Smith. And I mention all of this because there was a lot of time, effort, and sacrificing that took place on behalf of my mother. She made some decisions on my behalf that most parents wouldn't even consider, like giving up a car in order to pay for my $20,000 school tuition and 11 years of dance tuition and so on. My mother knew early on that I had to do all of the necessary tasks and preparation at some of the best institutions because the reward was going to be greater at the end. Not to mention the amount of student loans she had already taken out for her bachelor's and MBA programs. She already knew the chances were slim to none for her to be able to co-sign for any student loans on my behalf. So my life as a young child and teenager was very busy and productive. During my freshman year and sophomore year of high school, my mother decided that we needed to use this time for college visits so that my junior year, I would already know exactly where I want to go. And fast forward to 2020 junior year, we're in a state of pandemic due to COVID. No prom, no SAT, ACT, no in-person classes, and so on. And throughout my senior year, I was writing essays, applying to colleges, scholarships. Me and my mom, we were tag teaming on what scholarship we was going to apply for. And we spent tons of hours applying for scholarships that resulted with me receiving over $500,000 over various schools. And I'm beyond grateful for that journey. But for the most part, for the most important scholarship was from Johnson C. Smith University. And that was the James B. Duke Scholarship that awarded me a full paid tuition, which includes an $850 per semester for books and supplies, and along with room and board in the honors dorm. This scholarship was awarded for me for my leadership skills, my GPA, and my all-around student, how I was in high school. So I'm beyond grateful for my journey to where I am now, which taught me many lessons that I will share to the next generation in my family and my community. And one last thing I want to say to my high school students: work hard now so you could play harder later, and know that it's never too early to plan for your future. Thank you so much.
Member of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women PA chapter, and a member of Economic Empowerment Committee, but also am very thankful that you all decided to attend this extremely important seminar about student loan debt. Although I was not saddled, and that is a word I choose, with undergraduate debt, I do have graduate debt. And I will be frank with you, I don't have undergraduate debt, not for choices of my own, but because I was a young person who really didn't understand or know, but at least had adults who understood. And I had a full ride and half rides to places. And the place where I had a full ride, my mother insisted I go, and therefore I did not end up with undergraduate debt, which was a huge advantage of my life. And when I see my sisters and my brothers with debt and it slows their lives or delays things in their lives, I am remiss to understanding the challenges we have is in this way, especially if folks of color, to not have the information in our hands early. And although I didn't have it, people around me did, my village did, and they ensured that I made smart choices. And because of that, I wanted to give those choices to my daughter and let them be her choices rather than someone else making choices for her. So we started talking about school and financing around school when she was very, young as far as I was concerned, 9th, 10th grade. We wanted to, and only in the sense to ensure her that money should never be a issue for her. And not because we're wealthy or we're well off, we're not. We just wanted to make sure that if we started planning ahead of time, far enough in advance, that she would be able to go to school where she wanted to go. She is an athlete and there's no guarantee she would get a scholarship. So we wanted to make sure that she was able to go and play if she wanted to at her discretion. And so we started talking about schools, deciding on what schools she wanted to go to, where the tuition, were, and then started making financial decisions in our lives as parents to ensure that she could go. We went on what you would call a fiscal diet. We were already paying tuition for high school and knew that, the savings were not going to accumulate as fast as we could. So we had to figure out how to ensure that she was financially secure. When we went down those roads, we also talked to school counselors, attended a couple seminars ourselves around the financial planning, just for school. And also just ensuring that we had to be available for her financially, be it wherever she goes. Fast forward to her senior year, she made a choice. They didn't give her very much money to play, but we wanted her to know that we were going to cover it 100%. She had very little scholarship given, and it was a hefty price tag, but we had been discussing this as a family, and we had made choices in our lives to ensure that she was going to be afforded that school and not accumulate debt by any means necessary. So she was making a choice, and going to school on a cash basis. We were going to pay out of our pocket. We had chosen to go on a financial diet, long story short, cut down on our spending, figure out how we were making a choice not to choose to spend our discretionary funds on things we didn't need, and simply choose her. Unfortunately, COVID hit and she made a choice to stay home that year, and still currently, well, I also decided she would do community college online, which she's still doing to this day. And if she chooses to go back to a 4-year, we'll be there for her as well. But no matter what she chooses, we will not saddle her with financial debt. If we have to take a loan and then pay it off within the first year of her finishing school, we'll do that. I've had an aunt and uncle do that for my cousin, and you can be done. I've had good training in these kinds of things, and I'm grateful. And so I just suggest that you all think long-term. It's never too late to save. It's never too late to go on a financial diet. And that's why I say, no matter how much you have or how much you don't have, there are tools and opportunities to save and reduce the debt your student will have coming out of undergraduate, or even for yourself for graduate. So, you know, choose wisely and make sure that you're giving your student a choice. That was the one thing I wanted to ensure that she had, was a choice. She made the choice to go to community, and it was not over finances. And so for that, I am grateful to the Lord for that. But she also can go back to a 4-year if she wanted to, and there would be no issue. And we would not we would do our best to not take out loans. So thank you for your attention.
Make sure I fix my computer this time. I love hearing those various stories on the issue of student debt and how families are actually approaching the decision on how they are going to pay for college as a collective, instead of it just being all on the students or all on the parents. So I hope you all feel empowered to from these stories and all of the questions and information that you heard from earlier, to really sit down and think about, what is your testimony around student loan debt? And we want you to advocate for yourself and speak to your congressional leaders. They need this information when they are in Washington. The governor of Pennsylvania needs this information when he's advocating for us, on down to our city council members, our state reps, and our state senators. And so right now, I'm going to pass it over to our public policy chair, Amber here. Oh, I apologize. We are going to hear from Congresswoman Madeline Dean from the 4th Congressional District of Pennsylvania. I apologize.
Hello, I'm Madeline Dean, and I serve the 4th Congressional District of Pennsylvania, suburban Philadelphia, Montgomery, and Berks counties. Thank you to the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, and specifically to your Pennsylvania chapter, for inviting me to speak to you. Although I cannot be there in real time, I am pleased to say a few words on the critical topic of student loan debt, as well as for the need for universal pre-K and childcare. As a former professor, I understand the value of higher education and the immense debts students take on to claim their education. Once I left the lecture hall and became a legislator, I learned that this is a national problem at public and private universities. In the United States, there are about 45 million borrowers collectively owing nearly $1.7 trillion. And our Commonwealth ranks second, with the highest average per borrower at almost $37,000. With each generation, that number grows. And we know that the financial burden is heavier for African-American undergraduates, who on average owe $7,400 more than white students. And Black women have about 20% more student loan debt than white women do in undergraduate loans. As a result of the racial wealth gap, African-American students often have to take on more debt for tuition, books, and living expenses. It doesn't have to be this way. And the pandemic has shown that we must rethink student loan debt and college affordability, because the government should not be in the business of making money from these loans. Right now, the moratorium on loan repayments has allowed borrowers to catch their breath because of zero interest. That's why in December, my Pennsylvania colleagues and I wrote a letter urging President Biden to extend the freeze to May 1st. And in January, we took another step. With 80 of my colleagues in the House and Senate, we sent a letter to President Biden to cancel $50,000 in federal student loan debt per borrower. This would give 36 million Americans permanent relief and help millions who will begin repayments. But this problem goes beyond cancellation. The price of college is too high, and the government must make college more affordable so that a degree is not an anchor. One way that we can do this is through America's College Promise, introduced during the Obama administration and reintroduced these last two Congresses, which would make 2 years of community college tuition-free. Education must be accessible to everyone at every age. As a state representative and since coming to Congress, I've also fought for universal pre-K. And while Congress still works through the Build Back Better Act, and believe me, it has been frustrating, I will continue to fight for it because we need to improve our education system for everyone. During the pandemic, mothers in many ways have had to make the most sacrifices. Nearly 3 million women left the workforce, put off their careers and income for their children. Nearly 76% of women with 5-year-olds or younger are working mothers. And in the United States, 67% of women are the breadwinners or co-breadwinners of their families. This percentage is higher for Black mothers. We need education at every level to support families. And Congress has a role to play in helping everyone gain access and afford quality institutions, from pre-K and childcare through college. That's why conversations like yours today are so important. With advocacy like yours, I am certain we can transform our nation, and I look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.
It's wonderful hearing all the testimonies. Thank you for all that shared about their experience. And I just want to remind you all that it's not too late to ask questions for our guest speaker, Ms. Angela Howes. So feel free to use the Q&A function that's at the bottom of the screen. You can also use the chat function. And if you're watching from Facebook Live, you can also use the chat. So it's not too late. We do have a few. Is Miss Angela ready? I don't see her on the screen yet.
Okay,
All right.
there you go.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, perfect. So the first question we have is, my child graduated about 5 or 6 years ago and has Sally Mae, and the amount is around $300 a month. And they don't seem to want to work with her to make the amount any lower. Is there anything that she could do?
Yes, she needs to do a, let her do an alternative documentation. So she will call them, and what they're gonna tell her to do is send in her paycheck stub, and then she's gonna have to write down like a debt to ratio, write down all of her bills. She's gonna have to have the receipts, everything that she pays, and then she's gonna let them know this $300 is egregious. I can't afford to pay this. Is really hurting me. And then they will work with her, or they will give her like 6 months to a year, and maybe she'll pay $10, $20, $100 until she catch up on whatever bill that is that's hindering her from paying the amount that they would like for her to pay. Maybe she's in the wrong repayment program. Let's look at that. If I don't know what type of loan she has, maybe she should be able to qualify for either revised pay as you earn or pay as you earn, which is 10% of your discretionary income. So maybe she want to look into that. So that's one of the few things that I would do. I don't know what type of all loans she has, but it's dependent upon the loans and her loan type and her income. But if it's a loan repayment plan that she cannot, or it's not good for her to pay, or she can't really afford to pay it, I would definitely call them and tell me to do alternative documentation. That's what I would do.
Thanks. I had another question that was in the chat from earlier in the conversation you had with Krista. And could you clarify and give a little bit more information about which college program that reaped the benefit from the student loan relief during COVID, whether it was like an undergraduate program, or you talked a little bit about?
Yeah, so like I stated, all of them, what I would do, I would fill out the public service loan waiver and check the first box and ask, how many qualifying payments do I have? Because with this new waiver, it's a lot of things that they kind of like lowered it a little bit. You know what I mean? So they can go ahead and just apply for it, because you never know what you're going to get. Now, after October 2022, that's it. They're going back to the regular public service loan. It's imperative that anyone with student loan debt, I would and they are eligible for the public service loan forgiveness program, whether they work for a nonprofit, they have their own nonprofit, or they work for a government entity, state, whatever. If they work at the liquor store, you're eligible. I'm not telling you I'm not gonna get no job at no liquor store. I'm just telling you, you'll be eligible to apply for the public service loan forgiveness program. I suggest that you apply for the new public service loan waiver.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Would you recommend that we make a payment towards our student loans, even though payments and interest are not due until May 1st? Is there any benefit to that?
Well, it all depends on the situation. So if you are in the public service loan forgiveness program, then you may just want to leave it there, because if you keep continuing to pay your notes, you probably won't be paying it anyway. But if you are not in the public service loan forgiveness program and you don't want that interest to go over to your principal in case you have to change it, then you may want to pay your interest so your principal don't continue to capitalize and get higher. You see what I'm saying? So that depends on your situation.
Very helpful, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
One question is, do you provide private consultations? If
Yes.
so, are you accepting new clients, and how can you be contacted?
Yes, I am. AngelaHousey.com, and click Discovery Call, and I'll be more than happy to assist you.
All right, and maybe we can put that in the chat. Once we're done, I'll make sure to put your website. Another question is, can we discuss the other career options for those who choose not to go to college, i.e. trades? You can make the same money as a professional not going to college. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, so it all depends on what do you want to do. I mean, there are a lot of organizations that will start you out, even with Walmart. Walmart has really stepped their game up a lot. They're paying free tuition for college if you work for them. So if you want to start at a different organization and work your way up, you can do that as well. But if you want to get a certification, and like my daughter, what she did was she got her associates. Oh, you don't want to go to college. She got her associates in nutrition, so she was able to make $45,000 while waiting to finish up her registered dietitian. So again, if you don't want to attend college or want to do a certification, you can go to the unemployment office here in Mississippi. Go to the Win Job Center, and they have grants available. And if you qualify and you get on that grant list, and if it's available for you, they will pay for you to get a certification without you having to enroll into, use your own Pell Grant, but you can just use their grant money and get that certification if you'd like to do that. Now, one of my daughters did that, and her job started off at $45,000. So there's other ways you can do it. Even, them home advisors, say, I have American Home Shield. You can qualify to call their company and ask to work for them if you're good with repairing things. because they're making $65,000, $75,000 just by knowing how to fix a dishwasher, or a refrigerator. I mean, I don't know where your skill set is. The sky's the limit, what you can do. Figure out
Right.
which way you want to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's what you're saying is important, just exploring all the options and seeing what's best for you. It doesn't look like we have any more questions. I did have one personally. What sort of rights do we have as like student loan consumers? Do we have any rights, or do we just have to, this is our payment, this is our...
No, you have rights. You have rights. You can always speak with the ombudsman. If you feel like you're not being treated right, you can actually speak to the ombudsman. It's on their website, studentaid.gov. You can just go in the search bar and you can, she'll fight for you, or he'll fight for you if you have any issues. Consumer Affairs, you can speak with them as well. But if you start speaking with the ombudsman, things are going to change. Yeah, you have an advocate for you. So at any time, if there's any issues that you may be having and you don't feel like you can get through with the student loan, your student loan advisor, or your whoever your lien holders, go to the ombudsman. She'll take care of it, or he will take care of it for you to assist you.
Thanks, that's helpful. And thank you again for just all the information that you have shared. It's super relevant to, I know, so many of us, those who have children who are approaching this huge journey, or those of us who are, dealing with the wonderful world of student loan debt. So super thankful. I'm going to now pass it over to Sister Amber, and she's going to give us some closing remarks. Thanks again, Ms. House.
Oh, you're more than welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you so much, Ebony. And thank you again to our student loan expert, Angela House, as well as Amber Wiggins and Jennifer Powell Folks for sharing your powerful testimonials this evening. And we also want to thank Representative Madeline Dean for the powerful remarks as well. We did a lot of talking this evening, but we would remiss, we did a lot of talk about students. So we're sending you home with a little bit of homework. We have some next steps that we would like you to take as part of this evening's program. First, we're asking that you complete the post-evaluation survey for your chance to win a consultation with the featured speaker, Angela House, as well as her book, Breaking Free from Financial Aid Prison. I know one of the questions was how to get a consultation with our subject matter expert this week that spoke with us this evening. And that's a great opportunity for you to have a chance to chat with her at no cost to you. Next, we ask that you reach out to your Congress member to bring reform to the student loan debt crisis. We will be sending all of our attendees a call to action package, which includes some facts and figures about how student loan debt affects the Black community, Black women especially, and information on how to contact your local congressperson, and a template that you can use to craft your letter or your remarks when you're speaking to them. Last but not least, we ask that you share this information with your network. Now, I saw in the chat a lot of people saying, I didn't know that, that's a gem, I need to work on that. Well, everybody needs to know this information, right? Those of us that have student loans, we've got some creative ways to tackle the issue, and we want more than our audience here this evening to have that information. This concludes our program for this evening. I do have a few more reminders. The coalition does have an event coming up this Saturday, sponsored by our health department, our health committee, Matters of the Heart Healthy Conversation. That's being held Saturday, February 26th. And we also have our Melanin Uncorked Wine raffle. You can register for both those events at our website, www.nc100bw-pa.org. And you can also visit that site to keep up with anything that the coalition currently has going on. So again, we thank you for joining us this evening. Don't forget to complete your PERS survey, your PERS event survey to qualify for the raffle prize. And everybody have a good evening. Thank you so much for joining us.